All right, everyone, welcome back to the Real South Africa. You guys know how we do it. We are a luxury travel company based here in South Africa in Johannesburg, and we are serving the African American community and the diaspora. So go ahead and book your trip with us so you can go ahead and have a good time. Now, I just wanted to show you this little location here. We had a really good time here, Mark and Latasha. We sure did. It's called Apogee. It's in Pretoria. Very nice location. As you can see, has a very nice pool, has a great place for you to relax, chill, has a nice bar. Good people visit there all the time, and you could be the next. But we really appreciate all you guys who trust us and booking your trips here to South Africa, making sure you have a fabulous time. But of course, we had to get down to the particulars. There's always good food here, all types of food, but obviously we can't show you everything. But hey, this place is absolutely amazing. And then of course, we're gonna show you where you're gonna stay or where you could stay once you book your trip with us. So check it out. Hello everyone, this is Mark Edwards Blanton from the Real South Africa, and we're on the road again. We're out and about in South Africa, so obviously we're at a new location. It's called Apogee. It's situated in the hills here in Pretoria. Very, very nice. Not too far from Johannesburg, but Pretoria has its own vibe and its own mood. And so we just checked in, so we want you guys to see where we are right now. So I'm kind of want to take you through the rooms. They're all fabulous. They're all wonderful. So what I want to do is kind of take you through right now so you can see what you can get into when you are working with the Real South Africa on your travel adventure. So now as we're coming this way, obviously you see that we have a nice desk. Everything is here. Of course, if you need anything, you can hit one of those buttons. Somebody will show up and they will make sure that you have everything that you need, which is great. Of course, all your USB connections are there as well, and that works for you. Now, as we're cruising over here, the couch here is pretty nice, pretty upmarket. I like it. I like it a lot. I can see myself chilling here tonight, relaxing with a nice drink. Everything works out just fine. A great, big old giant lamp, a lampshade here. But this is cut the lights down, turn on this light. Things are good. All right. So now, so obviously you can see yourself here as well as I'm going through. So I'm coming through here. We got some nice steps here, obviously to delineate between the two sections and so forth. But the bedroom area is absolutely amazing. All the lighting you can control from the side of your bed. That will work for you as well. That will make your experience here in South Africa just a little bit better. And of course, we have upmarket, and as we say in the U.S., upscale amenities here, and that works. We really do like that. So of course, every room has a little bit of artwork going on, so you can feel comfortable and everything. And of course, you have a great TV here, so I can see myself laying in the bed and watching NCIS or Star Trek or whatever I like to watch. But it's all here, and you can have this room available for you for just a getaway if you want to. Schedule a wedding here, or you want to do basically anything. We can sort that out for you. We are the Real South Africa. That is exactly what we do. Now, so again, we're at a place called Apogee. Remember that, Apogee. You'll see it. Let's keep going. So as we're going through here, in this location, they have a great little bar area, and of course a lot of things are complimentary, like this gin here, which will be gone later on, I'm sure. Then of course they greet you with a nice little situation. Your whole bar is set up, so if you need a little bit of ice, have a little bit of ice brought to you. Life is good. Now, of course, you have your coffee, have all your stuff here, and then of course everything that you're going to need is in here as well, so you can actually just bring everything in here and just relax. Everything here is electronic as well. They actually have lighting for pads throughout the place, so you can actually just sit back and say, you know what, I'm gonna get this mood just right. It works. You know what I'm talking about. And of course, this isn't a situation where you have to, it's part of your experience here, and it's part of your room, so it's not like you have to pay extra. And they refill it every day. Now once it's gone, it's gone. Okay, And then of course, I'm gonna go there next because your shower experience is gonna be amazing. We also too, they always like to bring you here. You got different pillows that you can choose from a hyperallergenic, a luxurious duck down, a fine fiber synthetic firm, or firm pillow. You got your bamboo pillow and so forth. So everything is here, so you can be comfortable. Of course, you got your robes and plenty enough space to put all your stuff while you're here. So I know you probably have questions. I know you probably have like, wow, I wonder how much this costs. Stick with us. We will break that down for you, but it's well worth it, especially if you do need to get away, especially those that are coming from far. This is your first time in Africa. I'm going to tell you right now, you're probably are going to want to stay in something very similar to this, and we can make that happen for you. You just got to reach out to us here at the Real South Africa, okay? All right, everyone, we have arrived again at the Apogee here in Pretoria, South Africa. And again, I'm Mark Blanton from the Real South Africa. And again, we always talk about luxury. We always talk about culture and couture. Well, this is it. This is it. So stay tuned, and I'm going to take you guys in right now. So I see you on the inside. All right, guys, I would love to know what you think about what you just saw and where we are. And can you see yourself here? If you can, just go ahead and, give us a shout out. Hit our website, therealsouthafrica.com. And of course, we do read all your comments. We enjoy all your likes. So again, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. But yeah, this place is very, very nice. This is the entrance. Just when you first arrive, this is what you see. And again, it's a very understated, because if you don't know, about tourism and travel like the Real South Africa, you may not even know that this even existed. Now, and of course, I know you can see yourself here 2, 3, 4, 5 days right up in here. And as you guys know, we do 5-star experiences. So what you pay for, you're definitely going to get, and then you're going to get some more on top of that, because you will be traveling with us, the Real South Africa. But again, we really, go out of our way to go to these places, to uncover them, to find them. And then we wanted to show it to you guys and girls who have never been here before. Now, keep in mind, you could do this for, a one-off trip where it's just you by yourself. You deserve it, and you do. Or you could do it for a group. It could be a girls group, could be a guys group that just want to say, hey, let's go find something new. Let's do something different. Let's change the scene. Or it could be, that special occasion. I'm sure you guys heard me talking about those special occasions. They happen all the time. So I think the best thing to do is go ahead and book your trip and start early, obviously. And there's so many ways to take care of your trip. But keep in mind, the only thing that you're going to really have to be concerned with is your international flight. Once you land in O.R. Tambo International Airport, go through the door to return, you belong to us. We take care of you, and this is the type of stuff that you deserve. And of course, you're going to meet good people. You're going to meet some good South Africans. Of course, you can't help that. You're not put behind a wall and then you're just there for a little while. But like I said, we do the most here, and we are part of the travel and tourism, mechanism here in South Africa. Meaning for you, they know who we are. If we make a phone call, say, hey, we need this, we need that, or something's going on, or and we're here in real time. So if something happens at 2:00 in the afternoon, it's 2:00 in the afternoon for us as well, and we can take care of it. It's 10:00 at night. We could do the same, and we'll probably call one of our partners, and they will make sure everything works for you. So most of our people enjoy hassle-free travel when they come here, and they say to us all the time, this is what a vacation is supposed to look like. And so yeah, you deserve it. And you're gonna keep hearing me say,
you deserve it. Now, one thing you got to know is, I know it's hard for us to fathom ourselves in Africa, but now this is a new day, and this is what's happening, and this is what we're doing. And so we want to make this place in South Africa just a normal destination like you go anywhere else in the world. And of course, there we are. That's breakfast. It's not a continental, it's an actual breakfast. So, but this is what you should expect when you're traveling international, especially with the real South Africa. So what we're going to do now is just kind of give you the idea of what you need to do, the 1, 2, 3 of getting here.
Hello everyone, this is Latasha Blanton with The Real South Africa, and The Real South Africa is a full travel and tourism company based here in Johannesburg, South Africa, but specifically designed to help you travel to South Africa without any issues. So today we're going to go through all the steps to let you know how easy it is to schedule a trip with us, The Real South Africa. Stay with us.
All right, guys, welcome to The Real South Africa. We are at step number 1. The first thing you need to do when you want to come to South Africa is contact us at The Real South Africa. What we can actually do for you is set up a phone call. We can kind of go over all the particulars, or you have another option. You can actually go to our website, therealsouthafrica.com, and you can book your packages there as well. We have the 6-day, the 10-day, and your 13-day packages already available. So that's another option. But again, you can get yourself set up to come to The Real South Africa.
All right, guys, it's me again. So now that you have selected your package, you've decided when you want to travel, the next thing you're going to do is determine how you want to make your payments. You're going to make your deposit of $500, and then from there you have the option to apply for PayPal credit, or we'll send you a monthly statement where you can make payments that way. And at that point, you're moving on to step number 3.
All right, you guys have arrived at step number 3 on your adventure to get into South Africa. Next, the only thing you have to do now is make sure your payments are paid up 30 days prior to your arrival to South Africa. And once you get here, you belong to us. We make sure all your accommodations is taken care of, all your transportation is taken care of, all your adventures and things that you're going to do are done, and that's it. So that's the easy 1, 2, 3 to get into South Africa with The Real South Africa. So see you here in South Africa soon.
I'll try and be a little more gentle next time.
Please,
I'll try and be a little more gentle. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, because you doing that, you could be inside for 24 hours,
Let's talk about that before we move on. Like, I heard what you said about Rudy Giuliani. You said that he should actually be investigated for reporting a false crime, because if it wasn't for that video footage, that person who tapped him on the back, which again, I don't condone, but that wasn't assault.
No, it was not. And we are joking about it, but think about this for a moment. There was a woman we called her Karen. Brother told her to put a dog on her leash.
Oh, yes.
She said to the DA, listen, she falsely reported a crime. She needs to be arrested. He falsely reported a crime, and the district attorney should take that seriously. That person that he falsely reported spent 24 hours in jail. That's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. And so I'm going to call the DA. We must be consistent. All of that theatrics that he did, that's not acceptable. If that tape wasn't there, imagine what would have happened to that man.
Yeah.
Can't happen.
Well, you're the mayor. You can make those calls.
And you know what's interesting? What's interesting is that when you saw the testimony in Washington, he has some other things he has to deal with as well.
We definitely saw that. But let's talk about you, man. We don't want to give it all to him. You have now been in office for, is it 6 months now officially?
Hard to believe. When you're the mayor of New York, it's like a dog day. Every day is 14.
It is one of the hardest jobs in the world. It's also one of the most thankless jobs in the world. You've had your ups, you've had your downs. Let's talk about some of the things people have commended you on. Many New Yorkers have really been impressed by the attitude you've taken to education. You've come in, you've revamped the system. You're creating a world where your staff is really focusing on getting New York City's education up to where it needs to be. 2 parts to the question. Number 1, what do you still think needs to be achieved in terms of education in New York? And number 2, how do you remove or fight against all of the segregation that happens in New York City schools? Because you have a city where everyone mixes, and yet in the schools, it seems like the city is still in Jim Crow.
A couple of things. Number 1, I learned a lot when I was in South Africa. I drove from Cape Town to Port Elizabeth to Joburg, and I spoke to a lot of people there. When people talk about segregation, they don't look at the hidden segregation we have in America.
Right. Our
school system is dysfunctional. And we have acknowledged that dysfunctionality because black and brown and poorer students are the impact of that. 65% of black and brown children never reach proficiency in our New York City school system.
Wow.
And we've normalized that. And so what I did, I looked at my journey. I was dyslexic. I'm dyslexic. From K through 12, I used to walk in the school building. They used to put dumb student on the chair. I was bullied. And then not until I got into high school did I discover I was dyslexic. There was nothing wrong with me.
Wow.
30 to 40% of the prisoners that are in Rikers Island, dyslexic. So what am I doing as mayor? I'm taking my journey and now helping other children. We have dyslexia screening for every child now, and I'm going to Rikers and screen the prisoners for dyslexia so they can get the services they need.
You've also been commended on your views on gentrification. You know, one thing that makes New York one of the greatest cities in the world is how many people are in it. It's a melting pot. Unfortunately, it looks like, you know, certain colors are melting out of that pot right now.
Without a doubt.
And being priced out of their neighborhoods. On Juneteenth, you gave a really impassioned speech where you said, in some ways, gentrification feels to you like a legacy of slavery. How do you fight gentrification? How do you create a world where people can move, can sell their places, but the city doesn't create an environment where poor and brown and black people are kicked out of their neighborhoods, essentially?
I love that. I love that question because people really miss when you start engaging in gentrification, people start to just close up and start to get angry. Now we divide the lines. No. When you go back, when I was a sergeant in the police department, a black woman moved into a place called Garrison Beach, and they tore up her house. They destroyed her house. I went out there with a group of 100 blacks in law enforcement, black police officers, and said, we're going to sleep in this house, and we dare you to come and try to throw us out. Why do I say that? Because gentrification is not an ethnicity. It's a mindset. When you move into a community and all of a sudden you let your dog crap on somebody's yard and won't pick it up, and you ignore the people, you won't go into the stores that are there already, and you want to arrest someone for playing dominoes, or, hey, somebody double parks in front of this block and we hear loud noises coming out. That's a church. And that church was there before you got there. So instead of treating communities as though they're not there, you didn't discover Brooklyn, you didn't discover Harlem. Come be a part of the communities and bring your flair, bring your character. That's how you merge together.
On the ground, though, how do you make that happen? Because it's a complicated issue in that there are many homeowners in Harlem, in Brooklyn, etc., where I feel like they're trapped in a loop where they're destined to fail. There are people who own their homes. The homes aren't given the valuations that they deserve because they're black families living in a quote-unquote black neighborhood, or because, you know, it's Latino families living in a quote-unquote Latino neighborhood, and they don't get the valuations, they don't get the services. People say your home isn't worth much. Somebody comes in with a lot of money, they buy the place for pennies on the dollar. The more people do that, the more the values go up, the more the services go up, and now they've made a windfall on that. So how do you actually affect that on the ground beyond just saying to the people, don't move here and you know, erase who's here? How do you help people with actual policy?
Well, number one, we have to get back in the business of home ownership. And we've moved away from that. We used to have something called Mitchell-Lamas. I brought my first home in Bedford-Stuyvesant. Some people like to think I live in Jersey, but I live in Brooklyn. You know, I brought my first home in Bed-Stuy, and it was through a program, a federal program. They had a program called Officer and Teacher Next Door program, because they felt as though if you brought professionals into communities, you will help that entire block. I started a block patrol. My first co-op, I bought it in Prospect Heights. No one wanted to live there. When I got there, I started a patrol of the block. We started programs with the people there. So black and brown communities, they want the same things. No matter a Latino community, they want the same things with whatever community. What we have done in this city and in this country, we wait until communities are gentrified before we bring the services into the community. And I say no to that. You know, because you are the person that drives the limousine, you want the same thing as the person that sits in the back of the limousine, and you deserve the same thing. And that's what we have to
let's jump into some of those pressing issues in the city. Number one, police, which touches on crime, but it's almost two separate issues at the same time. One of the things you ran on coming into office was, I'm going to bring down crime in New York City. Since you've come into office, crime has skyrocketed. It's only been 5-6 months, but I'm sure many people would love to know from your perspective, how long do you think that promise will take to achieve? And how do you actually bring crime down? Because every mayor has a different solution for actually achieving that.
Well, it's a unique moment. People that know my history, I was arrested at 15. I was beat badly by police officers. They assaulted my brother and I in 103rd Precinct. I returned back to that precinct when I became the mayor. I fought against the abuse of stop and frisk. I've testified in federal court, and the judge mentioned my testimony when she ruled against the police department. I can't go backwards. We can't go back to the days when every black and brown child that walked the streets was treated unfairly. And so we have to have that balance. I like to say intervention and prevention. Intervention is right now. We took 3,000 guns off our street. Shootings dropped by 30%. Homicide dropped by 13%. We're moving in the right way, but I'm not going to allow us to be abusive in the process. Prevention, let's do the long-term things. Let's lean into foster care children so they have the opportunities and not age out without the support. Let's do the dyslexia screening. Let's go into how we educate our children, because if you don't educate, you will incarcerate. And we're feeding the criminal justice system, and no one cares. Archbishop Desmond Tutu from South Africa said, we spend a lifetime pulling people out of the river. No one goes upstream and prevent them from falling in the first place. We're pushing people into the river. And when you look downstream, you know who you're pulling out? You're pulling out the Eric Adams that are dyslexic. You're pulling out the foster care children. Black and brown children are falling in the river every day. And you have a mayor that has been in that river, and now I'm going upstream to prevent them from falling in the river.
You also have to balance that with how people feel in the city.
Definitely, yes.
One of the hardest things about being a mayor, I can only assume, is that you're dealing with the reality and you're dealing with the feeling.
Yes.
I remember one of the first things that shocked me when I moved to New York was how much the local news terrifies you.
Right,
every night they'd be like, watch out, someone's punching people in the street.
Right.
And it makes it seem like everything's happening everywhere. And yes, there are real crimes being committed, but it's not as panicked as people make it seem.
And I'm loving that. Last week we had about 3.5 million people that rode the train in a day. We have about 6 crimes on the subway per day. About 6 per day, those 3.5. So I have to deal with what you felt and then move to what you are feeling. And that takes some time before what you felt and what you're feeling. So what does that look like? When we started out our homeless encampment on the subway system, my first month in office, I went and visited people that lived in camps and tents on the street. I saw human waste, drug paraphernalia. I said, people can't live like this. And so we did a program in our subway system. The first week, 22 people took us up on an offer to go into our shelter system. Right now, 1,700 are no longer living on the subway system, and they're getting the services they deserve.
But how do you deal with a situation where it's sensitive? And what I don't like sometimes in America is people make it seem like these issues are easy. There's no denying that in New York, the homeless issue cannot be separated from mental health issues.
Without a doubt.
If you walk through the streets, you see it.
Right.
So how do you find a humane way to deal with people who, quote unquote, maybe want to live on the streets, but clearly cannot survive on the streets? And then you're the mayor who's taking the people off the streets and saying, I think this is better for them. And they're saying, no, this isn't. How do you find that balance?
Right. And so when I went into those tents and those cardboard boxes late at night during the winter month, and I spoke to homeless, and I realized that, hey, this person is bipolar. There are people living on the street that can't make the decisions for themselves. And so everyone is advocating and saying they should have the decency to live on the street. There's nothing decent about that. And I'm a Christian. If Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John was around right now, they'd be with me in the streets helping homeless people and not being removed or distanced from that. My programs are on the ground. I'm not afraid to be on the ground. I'm not afraid to make the mistake, man. I'm perfectly imperfect. I'm doing my job of turning around a city that has denied people for so long. I know that denial. I lived there. I watched mommy work 3 jobs to take care of 6 children, and then they gave her food that caused her to have heart disease, diabetes. I was diabetic. I woke up one morning, I couldn't see. The doctor said, Eric, you're going to be blind in a year. You're going to lose some fingers and toes. I went to see doctors that told me, it's your food, it's not your DNA, it's your dinner. When I changed my diet, within 3 weeks, my sight came back. My nerve damage went away. My body, I lost 35 pounds, 35 pounds.
You look at,
Yeah.
You look at, so what you're saying, if I understand correctly, is you're trying to find the balance in a world where it's really difficult. Like, so do you have teams that are specifically tasked with helping homeless people who are struggling with mental health issues?
Unbelievable combination. My team that I put together is extremely impressive. And we are on the ground talking to people and bringing them to a place where they ought to be. I can't meet people where I am. I have to go where they are and take them where they ought to be. And you're going to look over this journey and people see the unorthodox way that I move. I don't fit the model. You know, this boy head cat with an earring, you know, he want to hang out at Zero Barn or at some other club. Listen, I'm New York. And New York has this energy and spirit to it. This is a unique place. It's not our Empire State Building. It's not the Statue of Liberty. We are who we are because, as Apple soft drink owner said, we're made up of the best stuff on earth where New York is.
Let me ask you this then about New York. This city has always been an interesting place where the police unions and the mayors have often had a fraught relationship. You're a really unique mayor in that you were police, you come from police, and yet you've experienced police, and you've tried to change police, and yet at the same time, you have to encourage the police. So obviously you have critics and fans that inhabit both spaces. Find that balance.
Good question. Well, first of all, the prerequisite to prosperity is public safety and justice. They go together. Historically, people will say you could only have justice, you could only have public safety. And I say no to that. It's not a trade-off. We could have both. We could be safe and we could have justice. That accountability is going to be in place. But let's not kid ourselves. We have been producing an inferior product all across the city. We spend $38 billion a year on education. Yet 65% of black and brown children never reach education. They've been playing us. We've been getting played for so long. So the problem is not that people dislike me. They you know who dislike me? People who have been eating off of us. All of those people who make contracts from pulling people downstream, you know how much money is made when a child is dyslexic and is not educated and he's incarcerated? You have counselors, you have therapists, you have people who feed them prescription and drugs. People have been playing us, brother, for a long time. And now I come along and say, listen, the gig is up,
That's interesting. So have you found that you're getting a lot of resistance from people? Have you found that you've been getting a lot of resistance from people who feel like you're shaking things up a little too much? Because that's something any New Yorker knows, as especially if you're born here. But when you live here after a while, you realize everything feels like somebody's running something, whether it's the MTA or, when you're driving across a bridge, you can feel power dynamics shift, etc. How do you then find that balance without being sabotaged then?
Well, you have to be, first of all, you have to ignore the noise. We have 8.8 million New Yorkers and 33 different opinions. There's only one mayor that's going to make the decisions. Right now, I'm the mayor, and I'm going to make the decisions for the next 4 years to move this city in the right direction. So there's so much noise out there. And when you go after that institutional dollars that have been feeding and eating off this system, why do you think I'm under attack all the time? Why do you think they write all these stories about Eric Adams? Because Eric Adams is going at the heart. Eric is taking the city upstream. And we're not spending all that money downstream. And that is, you are going, I'm going after the foundation of people who have been eating off of the dysfunctionality of our communities for years.
So, just in case I missed it though, I don't think I did, but how do you then grade whether the police are doing well or not in your city?
Combination. Because it's not, we'll never be able to deal with this crime problem with just police.
Okay.
We can't police our way out of this. When you have foster care children that age out at 21, and every year 6,700 of them are, only 5% graduate from high school, only 22% graduate from high school, 5% from college. They're more likely to be homeless, mental health, unemployed, victims of crime, participate in crime. So what I'm saying, no, let's let them get support until they're 26. 90% graduate from high school. Let's open up our trade schools like I did at the Brooklyn STEAM Center and give these children certifications. Let them go into some of these jobs. Google is here, Facebook is here. Why not have these children fed right into employment, be part of the growth of the city? So if you employ, then you won't have to worry about the criminality that you're seeing. By the time a child picks up a gun, we already failed. We failed already.
But then why do you care so much about some of the smaller things? You know, like for instance, why does the city need to spend so much money on police monitoring who jumps a fare and who doesn't? Like, what is the percentage of money that the city's losing on fare jumping?
I like that. I like that.
Do people
That's
really need to go to jail for, like, come on, people are going to pay. And the people who don't pay, like, what is that percentage versus everyone else?
That's a great question. Here's what we can't do. We cannot send a message that any and everything goes in our city. Because it starts with, okay, so what, someone jumps the fare. And when there are systems, we have a reduced fare MetroCard program. But if you can't pay enough, we're going to give you the MetroCard. And there's ways to get on the system if you can't pay. So you can't walk into Dwayne Reed and say, you know what, I'm going to take whatever I want off the shelf and I'm going to walk out. Because now Dwayne Reed is going to close down, and that low-wage employee who's going to school at night to try to make a living is going to lose his job because you decided you don't want to pay. So we can't have a city where you can do whatever you want. No. We're going to be a city, we're not going to criminalize poor, but we're not going to allow someone to state that their economic status is going to allow them to disrespect what it is to live in a city like New York. I know what it is to be poor, brother. We used to go to school every day with a garbage bag full of clothing because mommy said we're going to be thrown out and we want you to have clean clothing so you won't be embarrassed when you go to school. But mommy made sure we're going to always uplift ourselves, fight hard, and we're going to be respectful in the process. I'm not going to allow people to believe because of where they are is who they are. We're so much better.
So let's talk about one of the parts of the city that everyone agrees needs to become better, and that is affordability.
Yes.
As you said, New York City is not made by the Empire State Building. It's not made by the Statue of Liberty. It's made by the people.
Yes.
The people feel like they can't remain in New York because they can't afford to live here. And you're seeing this spread. It's going out to Brooklyn, it's spreading into Harlem. The main part of the island is almost unaffordable for most people. For people who don't live in rent-controlled apartments, where there's no recourse, I've heard people's rents jump by 20%, 30%, 40%. It can just do whatever, and you're out. Your life has changed. It becomes unaffordable. Half the places in Midtown are owned by people who don't even live in the city, never mind the country. What do you do as mayor to prevent that from happening? How do you make it so that the people actually want to live in the city? Because I've seen you say, by the way, people need to come back to the office. I've seen you say, we need to get back in the office. People need to get, the New York City back to life. And I understand why. But I can also see why people say, well, Mayor Adams, why should I come back to the city when I can go and live 40 minutes away, 50 minutes away in Connecticut on a train and not have to pay these rents anymore? How do you prevent these people from turning this into a ghost town?
Yeah, it's a good question. First of all, charity begins at home. I have a small three-family house. My tenants, when they moved in several years ago, 15, 16 years ago, I had them sign a lease that as long as you live in my apartments, you'll never have your rent increased at all. And they've been there and they've never had a rent increase.
Never?
Never. Wow. From the time that they moved in, the audience is saying, where do you live so I can move in? But because there's so much for human need, there's just not a lot for human greed. Gandhi said that.
Yeah, but what do you do?
And so what I must do as the mayor is now create affordable housing, which we're doing, and which is very interesting. You have some of the people who are advocating for affordable housing, and I say, okay, great. We're going to build it on your block. Whoa, not on my block.
Right.
You want to upzone on my block?
Yes.
See, we have to stop the hypocrisy of people, those who are advocating for something, but when it's time to produce it in their space, inconvenience them, now they have a whole nother conversation. We want to build safe haven beds. Show me the community that's going to allow me to build the safe haven beds to give wraparound services. So we must get in the business of affordable housing, but once we build it, we have to put people in the units. We've had almost 2,200 units that were empty because we didn't have a system in place that is the dysfunctionality of we were just counting how many units we have. But hey, how many people that you put in those units?
Right.
We're moving in another direction. Then we do a night shift. We got NYCHA Land Trust. Everybody tried to do what we're doing now with NYCHA Land Trust. Almost 400,000 people that were living in substandard conditions. Now we have a land trust where they're going to be able to pick the contractors. They're going to have a voice in picking the contractors. They're going to have a voice in voting on the land trust. We're going to change the game of NYCHA, which what NYCHA residents have been going through for years. And now we're moving in another direction. So the affordability is crucial. Make it affordable.
Do you think you can find the balance? Because as a mayor, you're always responding to business, some of the richest people in the city.
Yes.
You know, you're responding to the people who are annoyed by poor people, as you said, the NIMBYs, not in my backyard, right? They want change, but not in their backyard. And you're responding to the majority of the 8 million people.
Yes.
What do you think you're going to be able to do in the short term? I understand the ideas behind it, but what's a concrete thing you can say to New Yorkers where you go like, hey, this is what I'm actually going to do for you in the short term?
Right, and we're doing that right now. First of all, the affluent New Yorkers. Do you know 52% of our taxes are paid by 2% of New Yorkers?
I can believe that.
If we lose those 2%, we lose our teachers, our firefighters, our cops. So for me not to engage those high income earners, that's foolish as a mayor, and I'm not going to do that. I want them to pay their taxes. I want them to volunteer. I want them to contribute to my museums, to my nonprofits. They need to be a part of that. And so when you look at what we're doing right away, child care vouchers for the families in the city, you know, people were paying $50 a week. We were able to get them down to $10 a week. We opened so many new seats in child care. What we're doing with dyslexia screening, what we're doing with college fund for our children. When you start at a college fund for a child, they're 4 times more likely to go to college by having that this college fund.
Right.
When you look at what we're doing, what's called the crisis management team, and how they deal with crisis on the ground for prevention. What we're doing with earned income tax credit. Brother, we send back billions of dollars because people don't know how to fill out the forms to get the resources that they deserve. So we're making it that easier and streamlining the earned income tax credit. So we're doing things that are going to put money back in the pockets of New Yorkers. Then we're going to empower them on how job readiness, how to be part of the city as it builds up. Cities that are built up and futures of people going down is unacceptable in this administration. And you're going to see visible results in this city.
So, before I let you go, I'd love to know, real quick, what would you grade yourself as a mayor right now? What grade would you give yourself? And I know it's a tough one. I told you when we spoke earlier, there's no tough questions for me because I'm authentic. All right.
I'm going to be me.
You are you, definitely. I'll say that about you. What would you grade yourself as a mayor?
I'm incomplete. I'm incomplete. I'm incomplete.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
I'm incomplete.
All right.
I'm incomplete as a mayor. I'm incomplete as a man. I'm incomplete as a father. I'm incomplete in my personal life. I get up every morning. I meditate. I exercise. I pray. I say the Pledge of Allegiance. And I get myself ready.
Every day?
Every day. Every day.
I mean, the last one's a bit weird, you have to admit.
Well, but it's not. It's not when you think.
I mean, surely the flag knows by now that you,
Yeah, well, this country, this country has a lot of issues.
Yes, it does.
But I've been all over the globe. And this is the only country where dream is attached to our name. There's not a German dream, a French dream.
Well, the French dream is, but it's a very different kind of dream.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you as a human being for a moment. Something that has really intrigued people about you is who you are, as you say. You know, the earring wearing, vegetarian but fish eating, late night going out. I mean, we've seen pictures of you with rappers, with models, partying, having a good time, still getting out. You don't seem afraid to be who you are and do what you're doing and not have that negatively impact the idea of your job as a mayor. Are you worried at all about image, or do you think it's all just got to be about what you actually do on the ground?
Listen. I'm a real believer that I believe in quantum physics. I believe you create your reality. I put in the universe almost 30 years ago that in 2022 I was going to be mayor. And every place I traveled to, I told people I'm going to be mayor. People look back over the records and me speaking back when I was a captain, when I was a state senator, when I was a borough president. They heard me say I'm going to be mayor in 2022. People don't reach their reality because they don't believe in the power of what they say. And so the universe knows I'm contributing to the universe. The universe is going to make sure that I'm all right. I'm going to be all right. How people judge me, that's up to them. I like Eric. And I had an amazing mother that told me when I went on the stage to speak as a child and I was nervous, Mommy leaned over and whispered in my ear, "Baby, you got this." And she transitioned last year. But every time I'm out here, I still hear Mommy whisper in my ear, "Baby, you got this." And I'm saying to New Yorkers, we got this, New York. Don't even worry about it.
Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate the time. I know you're a busy man. I hope to have you back. We'll talk about this every few.
Thank you so much for spending time with us today. If you like what you saw, please subscribe and don't forget to hit the notifications button so you don't miss out on all things The Real South Africa. Thanks again.